Michigan still finding a way to win this game by double digits?
Well, when I look at it first, it's the turnovers. I mean, that's been the biggest issue the last couple of games for this team is the way that Michigan's turned the ball over. I had a couple of their games. I was at the Wisconsin game where Wisconsin beat them. It's the turnovers that hurt this Michigan team. And I think the ability to understand what they're trying to do offensively, when they don't hurt themselves, you can't beat them. I mean, it took Wisconsin in that game against Michigan to have a bunch of threes from bigs that don't normally shoot well. You look at Alexis Bielskis, who was able to drill a bunch of threes. Like, you have to have that to beat this Michigan team. And I think that's the biggest thing. I thought Ohio State played really well. Guard play, they were able to penetrate. I know Bruce Thornton, when you look at what he was able to do, only 10 points in the game, 3 of 11. But to me, it's Elliot Cadeau and what he's able to do offensively. If he takes care of this basketball, now all of a sudden Michigan, they're offensively, they're moving it side to side. They're getting rolls. They're getting guys coming off, shooting wide open threes. They only go 5, I think, what was it, from 3, 8 of 27 tonight. So overall, didn't shoot it great. But that's how you have – there's 2 ways to beat Michigan. Turn them over, and you got to make threes. Other than that, good luck. And we've seen that. Now, we've seen, recently here what they've done. The turnovers have slowed them down. But I use the word slowed them down. I mean, this, to me, best team in the Big Ten. I know we're going to get into it more, guys, but Michigan's the best team in the Big Ten. That's not even close, in my opinion.
Jarrell, would you agree with that?
No, and I think B made a great point with that. It's just, and even a game like tonight, Ohio State was able to keep it close early on, really throughout the course of the game, because Michigan was super sloppy with the ball. They got most of their turnovers early on in the first half, and then the second half they were able to wear them down. But like he said, if you don't come into that game and you're prepared to at least make some of your outside shots, it's going to be a long night against Michigan. And tonight was one of those nights for Ohio State. Like, they just couldn't get enough perimeter jump shots to fall tonight, and nobody could heat up. Thornton did some other things, but he didn't have a great night shooting the ball. And you could just see the way that front line and that length bothers people. When the shots aren't falling and guys start getting into those areas where they running their drop coverage, and you got Mara and you got Marius Johnson down there, it's hard for those little guards to get shots off over those dudes and hit them with any kind of consistency at least. So I think he just made a great point with that for sure. In Michigan, this was in most standards a bad night offensively, a night that they're almost 9 times out of 10 they're not going to have on a regular basis, and they were still able to kind of grind this game down. By the time they got a 6-point lead, it felt like it was 10 or 15 points. So,
RC, just thoughts on this game and what you saw from Michigan.
Yeah, I think it's more about Michigan than it is about Ohio State. I think they credit Ohio State for the way they played. I thought they controlled the tempo of the game. There was a few sloppy turnovers by Michigan, but I thought Ohio State did a really good job. They controlled the tempo of the game. The problem is Michigan controls the paint, and they do it every game. So, I have to give Brian credit for this. I have to get the Proby credit, man. He's 100% right on it. I mean, if you don't force them to turn the ball over, which would be difficult, and you have to make threes because you're not going to own the paint. You're not winning the game in paint points. You're not controlling the paint. They make you have to make threes to beat them. And more importantly, you need bigs that can stretch some of that length and pull it away from the rim. It's just hard to do for 40 minutes. They did a really good job of making Michigan play in the half court, man, and it just wasn't enough. I thought Ohio State played as well as they can play against Michigan.
Yeah, Brian, just on this Michigan team, I mean, obviously they were, number one, or have been, floating around sort of 1 to 3 here the last couple of weeks. At one point, they were the national championship favorites. I think Arizona has since taken over that. But was there any reason, I mean, to move Michigan from the betting favorite, as a national, just because they lost to Wisconsin?
No, in my opinion, no. It took a game from a guy, in Alexis Bielskis, who hasn't made threes like that. Against Penn State, he threw one off the backboard, and I watch all of Wisconsin's game. I do the radio, so I see enough of it. But it was one of those games where everything was right. The other thing that happened in that game is Elliot Cadeau picked up 2 fouls, and he sat for about 6 minutes in the first half, and that's how Wisconsin was able to come back. What Elliot brings to this Michigan team, I don't think is talked about nearly enough. It's composure. It's making sure they're in the right sets. He hit tonight. He hit some big time threes to just, extend that lead against Ohio State. And to me, I think just the way his approach, he only scores 6 points, but he has 8 assists tonight. The ability that he has to get others involved, because when you talk about Michigan, what do you talk about? You say depth. Look, they've got guys that can start. Their 9th best player could start on every Big Ten team. Like, I've heard that throughout the season. The reality is Elliott gets these guys in the right positions. And there was a point. This is the other thing that I bring out with this Michigan thing. And I think this is where Dusty has really tapped into these guys. You look at Yaxel, he gets a foul with 2:19 left in this game. And Dusty grabs him and starts just barking at him, saying, "What are you doing? This is a stupid foul. Get back in transition. You're being lazy right now." And that coaching, this team is really adapted to. I had a chance to talk with Dusty and say, hey, this team is a team that likes running. So we run a little bit when they don't follow what they're supposed to follow, and make sure that they, don't stand up to the standards that we have. We need to make sure that we're always on these guys and always pushing. And to me, that's why, I still think they're the best team in the Big Ten, and I betting favorite. Yet they still should be, in my opinion.
Yeah, and we'll obviously take a longer look at the Big Ten as a whole, as to who might be able to push them there. But Jarrell, I do want to get your thoughts on the guards of Michigan, because I think when you zoom out and you say, all right, what could possibly be, I don't even want to say weak spot, but a spot that they might be a little susceptible. Elliott Cadeau, before he got to Michigan, and this is probably a credit to Dusty and Elliott, but he was kind of viewed as a liability at Carolina, right? Nimari Burnett did not have a great night tonight. Trey McKinney did come off the bench and give him double digits, but I just wonder, do you think when we're talking about a national championship, do you think you're going to get consistent enough efforts and production from the guards on that group?
I do, because I think you got enough guys where if one guy isn't having a great night, you can throw another guy in there and he can kind of get his crack at it. And even like a night like tonight, you already kind of mentioned it, John, but I thought Trey McKinney was big on a night where most of these guys couldn't really make perimeter shots. He comes in, and I think he finished with like 12 or something like that, but he gives you that production off the bench. And what a luxury to have a 5-star freshman, who was the second and third guy who gets a crack at it if your other guys aren't doing your thing. And Burnett has been good all year. Cadeau, again, like Butchie said, he was great as far as just continue to play in the flow of the game. He was loose with the ball early, but he shored that up in the second half, and he's hitting those pocket passes, throwing the ball ahead in transition, getting those other guys easy looks. So I think they got enough as far as the guard. The only thing that kind of does worry me in that regard, I'll say, is just that I don't think they necessarily have one perimeter guy where if you run into an elite talent at the guard position, it's kind of somebody to throw at them. You need one guy who is like, kind of your lockdown, and you'll put them in the blanket kind of defender on the perimeter as well too. So in that regard, offensively, I think they'll be okay. But on the defensive end, I would say it's probably more of a concern than offensively.
Any thoughts from you on that, RC? Just the caliber of guards and just kind of what Michigan is working with?
Doesn't bother me at all. I think the key is Elliott Cadeau just making shots when opportunity presents itself for them. Their front line is just that dominant. They just need guys. I think that's the beauty of it with Michigan, is that they're the real guy. When they're making threes, you're not beating them. So, and there's one other team that I can say that about, in a sense, because their front line is that dominant, and that's Arizona. And I push back a little bit on you guys with that, because I've always said I thought Arizona was the number one team and the best team. Even though Michigan was smacking people, I thought Arizona had played a better schedule. And I thought that they had answered the bell more against quality opponents than Michigan did early in the year. I'm not saying Michigan isn't great. I'm not saying Michigan wasn't deserving of being number 2 team in the country, but I always thought Arizona was deserving of number 1, even when Michigan was undefeated. So I'm not backing off of that just because Arizona is still running the table right now. I just felt like they were battle tested early. You can say, certain games about, UConn front line and all that kind of stuff. I just thought they were a team coming into conference play, had beaten 5 ranked teams, neutral sites on the road, didn't matter. So That's the only knock. But again, the guard play is good enough. They just have to do their job. They attack, they get downhill, they push in transition. Teams are going to try to make the game ugly against Michigan because that's the only way you can beat them.
Real quick, a note here, unless you had a follow up, Brian, like you maybe want to say something.
No, the only thing I had was, Jay, you're one of the best defenders to ever play, at the college level. But to me, what I see, you talked about, who's
don't roll your eyes like that, RC. Not roll your eyes like that, RC. Did you see his face, John?
Damn.
Hey,
I did.
Hey, come on. We played enough games
Just
together.
when I was about to take you off probation, I'm putting you back on probation, man. You talking about one of the best.
I got the hard way to prove it. I got the hard way to prove it, RC.
Hey, they're putting banners up for a reason this year, all right? The banner's up. You got to respect the banner.
And Marquette ain't won since. They put his shit up in the air and ain't won a game since.
So now it's my fault. It's all on me.
I'm trying to give you a compliment.
Brian, if they take that banner off the Raptors and burn it, I guarantee you Marquette gonna go on a run. They're going to go on a run. They'll win the Big East tournament.
We hanging another one next month, RC. We doubling down on it, baby.
Don't do that.
Hey.
Well, all I was trying to get at was, do you think Yaxel can be the guy to be an elite defender to stop one of those guys that's going off? Because I do. I think he's big enough. I think he's long enough. And I think he can move his feet to if they go against a dude that gets hot. I think he showed it in the Maryland game, but I think he can.
I agree. My only rebuttal to that B is just saying I don't think he's guarding. Let's say he runs into elite point guard. I don't know if he's gonna be able to do that. Like, you know what I mean? 6 foot, 5'10", whatever it may be, got the ball in his hands all game. Kind of like the one kid from Stanford almost. Like, you run into a guy like that can't be Axel, or it's gonna throw all your matchups off. You know what I mean? It's gonna have to be Cadeau or somebody else.
But let me say this. I'll say this. That's the point of what I mean with Michigan and their length, right? You don't have to do that. You don't need to take like Lindenberg to put him on you don't need to take any of their length guys. Just control the paint and force somebody, and let the guards run out there and chase those guys off the 3-point line, run them in the paint to shoot over that length. Make somebody beat you shooting over that length for 40 minutes. So they don't need to make him take out and guard on the perimeter much, because even if you're playing well enough and you force Michigan to switch, even when you beat one of them on the perimeter, you still got to deal with somebody else at the rim. And that's why I say it's so hard, man. It's not like you can just say they just got one guy. If it was just Mar, I would say, yeah, you can beat him, because you can just put him in ball screens. Even if he didn't want to come out, come set a screen on me, and you better come out here or I'm shooting it. It can be that way. The problem is you can pull him out, and then you still got to deal with length at the rim and in the paint, man. And so Michigan, man, and I'm a big, big believer in Dusty May. And I've said this about him even before he got to Michigan. He knows how I feel about him and what he is as a coach, man. If you buy into what that guy's selling, I think your team's goes a long way. And I feel like this group is bought into what he's selling and his unselfish play. I was concerned early about Michigan, about the length. It was too big, it wouldn't work, and they're proving me wrong, and they're answering the bell. They're just so dominant on the glass and control the paint. They just make you one-dimensional, and so I just don't know how you're going to beat them, and they're not shooting it great. They're not playing great 40 minutes right now, and when they do, look out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was going to say one other thing that get overlooked with that too, because B made a great point with the Cadeau, but Mara's passing ability. Like, Ohio State was going in and out of zone a lot tonight, and man, it's impossible to stop that dude from getting the ball at the high post, and he's skilled enough just to make all the plays and kind of be the point guard position when they run in the zone too. So it makes it tough, man. It makes it tough for you to figure out something to kind of switch up on them to stop them offensively all the time too.
Yeah, Wolverines keep rolling. Let's hit the other Big Ten action tonight. Indiana, 82-59 over Rutgers. That's their first win at Rutgers in 8 years, since 2018. And it also, more importantly, snaps a 4-game losing streak by the Hoosiers here next against Purdue. But Brian, just for tonight, I know it must have felt good for them to